This is Peyton O'Leary, and you're listening to the Leaders in Next podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the latest episode of Leaders in Next podcast. And today's guest is Peyton O'Leary, wide receiver, University of Michigan. And we're looking forward to talking to Peyton because I think it's a cool story. But first, before we get into the meaty substance of this, that might be overplaying it, but we want to throw up. We're going to do a pregame warm up. We're going to throw out some fun questions, and Dan, we can alternate. So Peyton, if you weren't a football player, what sport would you be playing professionally?
Professionally, I think it's a no-brainer. You play baseball with the money that's being thrown out there. But I stopped playing baseball when I was in 8th grade, and I played lacrosse and basketball in high school, so it'd probably be hoops. I was a good hooper. I was a pretty good lacrosse player, but they don't really have their league's kind of growing. But that'd be cool to play in the PLL. It's kind of growing. It's cool. I love lacrosse.
Yeah. Now I'm a little disappointed you didn't mention spike ball because I heard we have heard through anonymous sources that you were really good at spike ball with JJ. Can you share with us a little bit about that talent that you have?
Yeah. I was it 2022? We did the trip around Michigan, and I don't know. We got in some shenanigans, and JJ and I were the team to beat in spike ball. I think he'll say that I did the majority of the work, but I mean, he's a stud athlete, as we can tell. So we were a good team.
What makes a good spike ball player?
Coordination, I think. I mean, I played every sport in the world growing up, so I don't lack hand-eye coordination very often. So it's I'm pretty good in understanding. I mean, people want to spike it really hard at the bottom of the net, but you need to spike it at an angle so it projects differently rather than just straight up, because everyone's able to return an easy straight up pop fly. But yeah, so it's more of a science than you think it is, as easy as it sounds, the sport.
Yeah, it's we see the old people like dominating at pickleball. You're like, how could they be winning all this? Like they don't have the strength, but they just have the touch. They got the angles, the geometry.
That's right.
Same kind of thing.
It's all about the angles.
Was there you guys didn't continue with that because is there any NIL money for spike ball?
I don't think so. I mean, we weren't able to play at all after that trip, and I mean, it's pretty hard on the legs and outgoing. So I wouldn't let JJ play because he was so important. I didn't want him to turn an ankle or do something about it.
I was gonna say, I'm sure the Vikings have outlawed spike ball.
That's right. We cut it quits.
But you mentioned growing up, you played a bunch of sports. But when you were younger, I think you had an all-star babysitter, Duncan Robinson.
That's right.
Former Michigan basketball great, obviously in the NBA, doing well. Tell us a little bit about Duncan's babysitting chops.
So my dad has been coaching at this prep school for 15 years now. It's actually his last year, believe it or not. And so when I would get off the bus and go right to his practices, and his practice would be from 3 to 5. And I mean, me and my brother, who's a year and a half older than me, we would just roam around campus. It was like a prep school. It's like a college campus. So we'd roam around and we'd shoot hoops. We'd play football, 2-hand touch. And my dad would just simply ask Duncan to just watch us while they go to practice. So normally we found ourselves in the gym most of the time, just shooting hoops and doing a lot of shenanigans with Duncan. I mean, he's an awesome human being. I love the guy to death, and still talk to him to this day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You are maybe famously roommates with Davis Warren, Max Bredesen, Joe Taylor. They're the all-star former walk-on house that now all play significant roles on the team. But as a big Instagram guy, does it bother you that you have the third most followers amongst that crew? And how do you get your numbers up?
No, it doesn't bother me. I don't really care. But, I mean, Davis is the starting quarterback at the University of Michigan. He should have the most. And then also Max is a captain for us. So it kind of makes sense. But I mean, it's not. We don't really talk about that stuff. It's a friendly competition if it even is a competition. But I mean, no, I don't really care about that stuff. But I mean, we do love our social media nowadays, especially our generation.
Yeah.
Although
Well,
you're probably working your way up. You had a touchdown catch against the number 1 team in the country, so things are probably trending
I
pretty
hope so.
fast.
That's right. I need to get to 10K eventually. I'm at like 6 something right now. So
I think my wife is the only person that follows me, Peyton. So you got that going for you.
so any chance that in maybe your parents are into this whole genealogy stuff and track past relatives, but any chance you're related to Catherine O'Leary, whose cow started the Great Chicago Fire in 1871? Same last name.
I don't think so.
You might want to ask. I mean, or maybe your family just, it's a deep, dark secret. You don't want to tell anybody.
That's right. Maybe they're keeping it a secret from me.
If you were, I don't know why you would offer that up. Like, I don't know what the statute of limitations are for burning down an entire city, but you would want to keep that below.
Yeah, I should give my parents a call right after this.
Yeah. What do we owe?
Yeah, your parents could say, we need to sit down. We need to talk about this, Peyton. This is very serious. So you're on America's Got Talent. What's your special talent other than catching footballs and lacrosse and I guess basketball? But what else you got?
I'm not much. I mean, I'd probably just go play a spike ball game with JJ and everyone would like us. But I mean, I don't know. I don't have much hidden talents rather than just I like to say I'm good at every sport that I played at. So in the humblest way. So that's like I transfer with sports. So that's what I would say.
Peyton, it is funny because we asked this question and we'll say, like, we always have to caveat it with, other than football and basketball and baseball and lacrosse and spike ball and like being fast and generally good at everything, what are your other talents? People are like, is that not enough for you guys?
Yeah, I mean,
Max said he's a good cook. Max says he can cook a really good steak.
Yeah, Max is as Wisconsin as it gets. He's a beast on the grill for sure. I'm not gonna lie about that.
I love it. That's such a.
Though. He was saying he was like working his way up in terms of grill skill. Sounds like he's already there.
He's definitely there for sure.
He fits in so well with Harbaugh. He's going to have steak and whole milk from Wisconsin.
That's right. He is the ultimate football guy. I mean, nice. Coach Harbaugh would be silly not to get him on the Chargers coming up. So
most likely to succeed outside of football.
What'd you say?
Who's on the team? Who's most likely to succeed other than you? Who's going to succeed outside of football?
I mean, Davis Warren is flat out genius. He has all the connections in the world nowadays. So I think he'll be a millionaire growing up and own his own business. Hopefully he'll hire us idiots, Max, Joe, and I, when he's owning a business somewhere in New York City or LA or somewhere. So hopefully we got to keep tracks of him and get a job from that kid. But I want to give a shout out to Jake Thaw last year, he will be a very successful kid. He is genius, nicest kid in the world, and he's going to be a very successful human being.
Well, Peyton, I think Dan and I would agree with you because
we say the same story. So
so we were having breakfast with Davis at Strahan, where all you guys apparently get free food because it's social media. Like every picture is on, of something from Strahan. So, and it's a great place. Everybody, if you're listening to this and you're like a fanboy, just go to Strahan. You'll see like players from every sport at Michigan. Anyway, so we're there having breakfast with Davis, and Jake Thaw walks in, and he says, "Hey guys, I want you." He introduces us to Jake. We talk a little bit. Dan and I introduce ourselves. He goes off, has breakfast with somebody else. 45 minutes later, he comes walking by the table, and he says, "Dan and Gary, it was really nice talking to you." Good. And I thought, most people are terrible with names. He's only met us once. And he came back and he said that, shook our hands, looked us in the eye, and I thought, I know he's 21 or 22, whatever he is, but I thought that's pretty freaking impressive. So I'm glad he got to do his thing at Delaware. I think he went to Delaware, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's playing well.
Yeah, got the helmet, kept the helmet colors and everything. So, so anyway, Jake Thaw doesn't surprise me. That's a good call.
If Davis gets elected president, and he's got to pick from all you guys, he's got to pick a VP. Who's he taking?
It'll probably be Brady solely to just be an enforcer.
Oh, good call. Good call. For a foreign policy,
That's right.
foreign policy move there. I like it.
All right. Before we jump into now your journey to Michigan and early years playing sports, and we're gonna put you on the spot. I mean, if you were going to ask us a question, what would it be?
I mean, to be honest, I don't know much about you guys. What's your overall background and how you related to Michigan?
Dan, I'll let you start. Well, I guess I should start because it leads to. So, Dan is one of my 5 children. My oldest son. I went to Michigan back before there were personal computers. So, was not talented enough to play sports at Michigan. Although we really the engineering, I think we did really well in the engineering intramural basketball tournament.
There it is.
But it was like 400 years ago.
That banner still hangs today, by the way.
Yeah, there are no videos from then because I don't know if video even existed. But anyway, went to Michigan. Have always loved what the university did for me, and my career. And Dan went to the University of Michigan as well. Both undergrad and a Ross MBA. And we were sitting around. We were actually Kiss, the band Kiss, which was my first concert in high school, 1976. They were doing their farewell tour, and they came to Detroit. And Dan and my wife was not as excited about attending the Kiss concert, so I dragged Dan with me. We're sitting downtown Detroit having beer and pizza. And our favorite topic is, what can we do to help Michigan, like directly? And yeah, we give to the athletic department, we gave to the champion circle, all that's important. But we thought, what else could we do directly? And he says, let's start a podcast. And I thought, I have no idea what that is. But I do, but how do we do that? We're not experts at this, and we had to figure it out, but it was really his idea. He came up with a name. We formed a company, and we said, let's find a way to have athletes on, tell their stories. We're not X's and O guys. We'll talk a little football, but we know other guys diagram the plays and all that kind of crap. We thought, let's let people, we want these athletes to tell their own stories because somebody may see this and say, hey, I want that guy for my brand or whatever. And so we thought, and oh, by the way, we can do it. That is now legal with the NCAA that we can pay people to do this. So
that's right.
That's it. Dan, you can give color comments.
Yeah, I was brainwashed young age. My first game was the national championship 97 game.
Yeah.
So I got to see that, and then went to a couple games a year, growing up in Chicago. And once I got into the school for undergrad, it was no question about it. I studied econ and undergrad, and then went back much later to Ross.
Nice.
But yeah, man,
Yeah.
Brainwashed. Never.
And by the way,
he was about it. It just been.
He was a possession. He was a possession receiver. In his youthful years, we would throw the football. I was the star quarterback at the time, and he was the receiver. He was Mercury Hayes for a while, way back in the day.
Love it.
I had hands, Peyton. In fact, I held a middle school middleweight record for a long time. I had 10 catches in a game.
That's impressive.
I think I only had 46 yards. So I also
as long as you were doing your job.
Lowest yards per reception in Illinois middle school history. So,
and by the way, the yards after catch
were negative, actually,
because they would throw the ball up and there'd be like 3 guys around him, but he caught it. But anyway,
so that's us.
Love it. Well, I appreciate you guys, and Max and Davis speak very highly of you guys. So,
thanks. No, again, I think real fans want to know a little bit more about folks and your guys' stories, and the amount of time and effort that you put into stuff, I think, is underestimated because they only see you for 3 hours on a Saturday or whatever, and they're making judgments based on things that I think they have no idea. And we just want to give people a little bit more insight into this. So we're going to go back to the early years. You mentioned your dad, Jim O'Leary, and we did see the social media post. He's retiring after 15 years as the head coach at Governor's Academy in Massachusetts, and was also, I think, the assistant director of athletics. So he's obviously tied in there. Now, what fans, this is like father, like son. He started as a walk-on at Northeastern.
Yep.
Became a scholarship guy, just like you've done, and we'll talk about that. Now, I don't know if you've checked out his game. I don't know if there's any video out there, but like your dad, he had 10 10 TDs in one season, and prior to that, only one other player in Northeastern history in the prior 20 seasons had 10 TDs, and it took another 10 seasons after he did it for someone else to get double-digit TDs. I mean, have you checked out video of his game? Can you?
You guys did your research, man.
Yeah. What kind of game did your dad have?
He was a quarterback, so he was they ran the wishbone, I think they did, and he was a downhill assault guy running the football. But he's never really shown me any clips. The only clip he's ever shown me was him getting absolutely popped, and he got a concussion. He popped up and he walked to the wrong sideline. That's the only clip he showed me.
Well, he wasn't popped by Brandon Hillman, was he? I mean, that would have been a time warp.
He is one physical football player.
Yeah,
not fun going against him.
Yeah. So, well, you'll have to see some video, because I figured, I knew he was quarterback and he had 10 TDs and most of them were rushing. So I figured this was like a really heavy run offense. Well, so yeah, when on break, have him break out the old videos. What are they? Probably.
That's right. I need to.
It might be a slideshow from that long ago.
I know, right? All of his friends growing up, all his friends from college, his high school, they always say how good he was and stuff. So I always end up like, was he that good? And they always say, yeah. And they always mention that he was the toughest mother trucker in the world. So, so I'm thankful for him. He's done so much for me and given me, the genes to do this. And shout out my mom too. My mom always, my mom was a star softball player in high school. She always says it didn't. All the athletic ability didn't come from my dad. But no, I'm just kidding. She was not.
Well,
she wants me to say that.
Well, do we have? I mean, like, Jordan Marshall actually had his mom join the podcast. He was home on a break, and she jumped in, which is awesome. I mean, just give a little shout out to your mom. What position did she play?
I'm not sure, to be honest, but I mean, my parents are awesome. Awesome. They're my best friends, and
she was positionless. Dad, she was all over the diamond.
All over the diamond. That's right.
There was no. She just was out there anywhere they needed her. True utility player.
There we go.
My family is very, very close knit. I got two older brothers, so.
Well, yeah, and let's talk about your brothers, because your dad obviously clearly was big into being a quarterback, because he named all three of his boys after NFL quarterbacks. So you got a brother, Brett, named after Brett Favre. Then there's you, Peyton Manning, and then there's Shane Matthews. Now, a couple questions.
Sugar Shane.
Well, yeah, this leads to a lot of questions. First of all, your dad, is he disappointed you didn't become a quarterback?
Well, Shane is only a year older than me, so like I would have been sitting behind him I only would have started 1 year, so it makes sense not that I wasn't.
Okay.
It's amazing how your family planning involved the depth chart analysis.
That's right.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah, they said have a kid and then wait 3 years later and have another kid, and then we'll have a wide receiver a year later.
Look at the eligibility chart like, yeah, we're going to be low on receivers. All right, honey.
That's right.
Get Peyton running routes.
Now, why not name you after Tom Brady? I mean, now maybe it's just a timing thing. Like, Brady didn't become a starter until 2001. You were born 2002. Did your dad ever come to you later in life and say, we want to do a name change from Peyton to Tom? I mean, because you're in Massachusetts, you're right there in his backyard. Like,
he could have for sure. But I think my mom loved the name Peyton, and I don't think they really liked the name Tom's or Thomas, whatever you want to say. So yeah, they stuck with that. And I mean, we make fun of Shane all the time,
because Shane, like, the family. Yeah, is he the black sheep of the family now? Because the guy, like Shane Matthews, ended up going to jail in like 2015 for fraud.
Oh gosh, I didn't know that. I know he was a stud at Florida. That's all I know.
Yeah, he was a stud. Yeah, he's in the Florida Hall of Fame, College Hall of Fame. But yeah, he probably made a bunch of money being a backup sitting around the NFL.
Shane, my brother is definitely the troublemaker of the group. So I'm just playing.
Your parents knew
Brett Favre. Not too far off the fraud trade himself. I mean,
that's
Peyton,
right.
You're sitting pretty right now. I mean, we're thinking about you as the commercials. That's it. Otherwise,
that's right.
You're solid.
Well, and do you have a bunch of quarter zip like sweaters? Like Peyton's always wearing a quarter zip sweater. You got to get.
I need to get a couple more.
Maybe get some apparel people to give them to you for free. So do a little social media post. So tell us a little bit about Grosvenor Academy. Like how'd that is. So for those listening, it's a it's a private boarding school, day school as well in high school up in Massachusetts. Where your dad was coaching. Well, he wasn't coaching there when you were born, right?
No, he wasn't coaching there when I was born. He was coaching at a public school right down the road, believe it or not. And then he got the assistant job, and then I think it took maybe a year, maybe 2 years to take over as the head coach, and he's been running since. So,
and I guess your parents decided that was a better option than going in the public school route in high school.
Yeah, I think it was a tremendous opportunity to get away from public school, and I mean he worked there, so we didn't really need to pay all that much that it normally costs. So it worked out perfectly, and all three of us went there, and it was the best time of my life until COVID hit.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned earlier you played all these sports, and I think you were pretty, low key about it. But you were captain. I think you were captain of 3 teams, right? 3 different,
right.
Baseball, lacrosse, and football. And I guess those sports don't run together. Like how there had to be some seasonal overlap between those.
No, it was basketball, not baseball.
I'm sorry, basketball. Yeah.
So I played football in the fall, basketball in the winter, and then lacrosse in the spring. And if I could have played baseball on top of lacrosse, I would have. But they were strict about picking 3. So yeah, I mean, my dad was massive on 3-sport athletes. Obviously nowadays it's becoming hard to find, and they're doing all this like one sport specialized, but my dad truly does not believe in that, and I think maybe that's one of the reasons why he's stepping away from football. He can't get the kids anymore. Worse, it's a small school, 400 kids, and I mean they're just low on numbers, and he's ready to hang it up, and he's had one of the greatest careers in a Massachusetts coach has ever had. I mean, he's coached, I think he was a head coach for like 12 years, and he had, I don't know, 5 championships and a couple more bowl game victories. So
that's awesome. That's kind of how, is that why you think Jim Harbaugh liked you so much? Because he's a big multi-sport athlete guy, right?
I would hope so. I mean, I hope Coach Harbaugh liked me, but yeah, I truly believe that playing one sport transfers, like skills transfer over, like I said earlier, coordination. I mean, it transfers for all sports, and then speed and all those quickness moves. I mean, running a route is just like dodging in lacrosse. Like you got to do 1-2 hezzy, blah blah blah, get to the net. It's just like running a route. It's just like a defender guarding you in football. So it's all carryover. It's very similar, and it's probably why I was pretty good at all of them.
You had a nice one of those, by the way, on the sideline against MSU, right? Hit the one way, got the other way. Yeah, I saw that. By the way, the 3, you were probably out of room on your Letterman jacket. Is that why they had the 3-sport rule? Like, look, kid, you just can't be captain in 4 sports. Like, we can't put a cape on this thing. Like, we got no.
That's right. I don't know. I mean, both of my brothers were 3-sport captains as well. So,
wow, man, that's a great family. I mean, so you were point guard in basketball, right?
Yeah, I was, yeah.
So, like a lot of your teammates, like you guys are all great athletes and usually in more than one sport. A lot of guys we've talked to have played basketball. If you're picking a 5-man team, you guys are going to go hoop it up against somebody. Who's give us your starting 5.
It's probably me at the point. Kendrick Bell, either at the 3 or the 2. Will Johnson's pretty good. He can stroke it a little. Colston's a solid athlete. And then probably he's not that tall, but put Orgy in the post. That kid's a beast and a phenomenal athlete. So probably that's 5.
Everybody picks Orgy. They don't know what position to put him at. They just say he's going to be on the court
out there. He'll do good. So that's a tough 5 to beat within the team. So it's probably the top 5 players on the team.
Okay.
I mean, we lost Keon Sabb, who was an absolute stud, and then obviously Ronnie was really, really good.
Well, I tell you what, Dan, we're going to have to go through the notes and come up with and maybe host a 5-on-5 team, although that is risky of injury. But because
we don't have the legal budget for that. I'm just telling you that right now.
Because I mean, Gentry put himself there. He can stroke it.
I'm sure he's pretty good. He's massive. So
yes, yeah. So So and you talk. So back on football, I mean, you didn't play a lot of football in high school, right? You broke your leg your freshman year, and then you had COVID, canceled your senior year. Did that? I'd seen earlier where you said, look, if you played your senior year, you thought you would have had a fair number of Division I offers. I mean, how do you, when you look back at your football career in high school, how do you characterize it? And is that really? Do you feel like you lost a bunch of ability to show what you could do?
Yeah, I think it was pretty unfortunate. Freshman year, I broke my leg running down on a kickoff, so that scratched out the whole year. And then sophomore year, I think I didn't have a great year. I think it was like 400 something yards. And then junior year, I dislocated my shoulder, so I missed 5 games, but I played 5 games and I had really good stats that year. And then I was gearing up for a big senior year, and boom, COVID hit, so wasn't able to play.
Now, a lot of guys, during COVID, did you ever think about transferring to an area in the country where they were playing football?
Yes, I think I was definitely thinking about going down to Florida to play at this school called Columbus or something, because my dad knew the head coach, but it just wasn't worth not getting the high school degree from Governor's Academy, which is such a good academic school. And I mean, it's a blessing and a curse though. Like if COVID never happened, I probably wouldn't be at Michigan, and I probably wouldn't be here, because I probably would have got, I don't know, many different offers, like lower level. I'd probably be at like a Holy Cross in Massachusetts or something like that. So I'm blessed the way it worked out, and I'm happy I took my shot to be a preferred walk-on at Michigan and bet on myself, and it worked out.
Well, let's talk about that recruitment journey. As you mentioned, preferred walk-on. I mean, I know originally so like your sophomore year, you committed to play lacrosse at Amherst, right? UMass Amherst.
Yeah, I did.
And you were going to light up the world in lacrosse. What, why did you make the change? I know you decommitted, and then, why?
So yeah, I committed like the first day you could commit on my sophomore year or whatever it was for lacrosse. My brother was going there. I kind of just get it over with, like commit there, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to play it at the next level with my brother. Like we always dreamed about that, playing at the highest level of a sport you could do. So got that out of the way, and then I don't know, it's just like you've heard probably before, my family's a football family, and I wasn't done with football, and I didn't want to hang up the cleats off of a junior year, one loss year, crappy, and I wanted to keep playing, and shot my shot here.
So how did it come about with Michigan? Like you mentioned, I mean, is there a family connection in Michigan, or you were fans? Like, why? How'd you end up going through the process with Michigan?
There's no spot on connection, but I did like watching them growing up. That was sort of my team for no reason.
Okay.
But yeah, it was always a dream to come here. And Don Brown was, I mean, my dad, high school coach at a high level. He knows a bunch of coaches. So
yeah.
My dad and Don Brown were pretty close. And then Don Brown got me in touch with Coach Steve Casula, who's back now, which is awesome. He told me, you can come be your preferred walk-on here. And the moment I stepped on campus, June 1st of whatever year that was, 2021, and Davis and I ran routes for the first time, and Coach Casula came up to me and he said, yeah, you belong here. We're happy to have you. And so it worked out, and I love Coach Casula to death for bringing me here and still coaching me as hard as he can now, and I'm so happy he's back. So shout out to him.
Now, did you visit any other schools? I mean, these are unofficial visits because you're not being offered. So did you visit any other schools?
I don't think so, because my mind was kind of off just recruiting. Like I didn't care anymore. I was committed. I was set to go play lacrosse at UMass, and that was that. And I didn't really try very hard to get committed. I never really went to a camp, but I mean, I think I went to a BC game maybe as a dumb little recruit and watched the game from the sideline. But I mean, that was nothing. It was just probably because it was 35 minutes away from my house and we went there. But no, I never really did any camps. I never really did any visiting. I just shot my shot. I mean, I committed here as a PWO before I even stepped in the state of Michigan. So crazy, kind of crazy story.
Well, the good news is weather was not a factor in your decision, because it's not like this weather is any worse than what you got in Massachusetts.
That's right.
You're good on that.
That's right.
I'm not sure a lot of fans, maybe the average fan, knows the name Steve Casula as much as some of the other coaches, but he's come up on this podcast a bunch because when we talked to Davis and we talked to Max, I think Steve kind of recruited, Coach Casula kind of recruited you, Joe Taylor, Max, and Davis. So, I mean, incredible eye for talent. And, like, now all four guys are, like we talked about earlier, main contributors on the team. So maybe if you could just talk about Steve for a second, shout him out, let fans know what makes him so special.
Yeah, I think Coach Casula is probably one of the best coaches we have in that building, although every coach in there is amazing. But his ability to connect with you on a personal level while still having the player having the utmost respect for him as a coach is probably second to none. And yeah, he was an analyst before he left to become the OC at UMass and then come back. So when he was an analyst, his job was all the game planning stuff, and then he was also in charge of recruiting the walk-ons. So I think COVID year helped him out, that all these kids are forgotten about because the seniors were given 2 extra years or whatever it was, because they redshirted that COVID year, and then they were given another year on top of that. So a lot of kids that of my class, walk-ons, missed out on the recruiting ability, and I think Coach Casula was able to jump on that and notice that and quickly realize. And the guy has, like you said, he has a neck for finding elite talent that goes unnoticed. So but I can't speak highly enough about Coach Casula. I mean, I love the guy to death. He's amazing. And freshman year, when things weren't going my way and I almost hung him up and went back to UMass Lacrosse, he was the guy that stopped me from doing that and said, stop thinking like that. Stop. Get your mind straight. You belong here. And he's probably the reason why I'm still here, believe it or not. So I love that guy to death.
He certainly got some eye for talent, because, as we mentioned, so Davis was a walk-on, Max was a walk-on. Max's situation might be a little different than everyone else's because his brother played here, and long Michigan history kind of thing. And both brothers played, one baseball, one football. And then Joe Taylor, shout out to Joe Taylor, special teams player of the game against USC, and forced a fumble against Oregon. Played great special teams player. Now speaking of coaches, you've seen a fair amount of change on the coaching staff. I think I have this right. I think you've had 4 different offensive coordinators. When you came, it was Gaddis.
Yeah.
And then you had kind of Moore and Weiss kind of sharing passing running game. And then it went to Moore last year, and now Campbell. How hard is that? What's that like as a player going through all those changes?
I think the mission culture that Coach Harbaugh created and Coach Moore has upheld it wasn't hard at all to really change that, because we always know that we have the core group, the core culture that goes within it, and we know that we always have each other. And I think they do a tremendous job of, no matter who's at the helm, no matter who's running the show. I think the culture that Michigan has created and that Coach Harbaugh created, that Coach Moore has, like I said, upheld, it hasn't been hard at all. I think it's pretty easy that we kept the verbiage the same within every single one of the OCs. So it's been the same offense for a while now. So kudos to them for learning the different verbiage and calling plays at a high level. So shout out to all of them.
So none of them walked up to you and put their arm around you and said, Peyton, this wide receiver thing, it's okay, but really what we want you to do is we're going to have you play safety, like position switch. Nothing like that, huh?
Thank God that never happened. No, I am a true wide receiver. I could never play any other position in football. So I didn't even play defense in high school.
Okay, and you meant so now your wide receiver coach is Bellamy. Michigan kind of legend.
Legend.
Tell us a little bit about what it's like being in his room.
I love that guy to death as well. Just like I said about Coach Casula. Coach Bell has done so much for me on a personal level that I can't say thank you enough to him. But going away from first, I want to say how great of a human being he is. Like outside of coaching, the guy is second to none to anyone as a human being. I think that's his reputation as a whole in the world because he's a fairly big name. But as a coach, I mean, he played the position at the same school that he's coaching at, so that's pretty special, and he knows what we go through. And the guy knows the game of football very well. So I can't say enough about Coach Bellamy and the job he's done of being my coach for 3 years now. So love the guy to death. He's awesome.
Now, I think in warmups was watching, and you guys were warming up, and I think he was playing like defensive back, kind of pretending to cover you guys. Is that, I know like he was fast in the day, but as we all get older, things, you can't move as quickly.
I don't want to throw any shade, but yeah. I don't think he's up to speed what he was. But I mean, he's still in tremendous shape. I know he works out damn near every day. So.
He's not going to be able to cover you.
No, he can't guard a single soul in that room.
Okay, I just wanted to check.
I'm sure he's happy about that. By the way,
I'm sure he'll tell you that.
Like his care level's super low on that.
Talk about the impact that Coach Bellamy or like a wide receiver coach has in general. Like, is it a lot of working footwork, routes, viewing coverages, like outside of what maybe the OC does or the head coach does? What are some of the specific points of impact that really wide receiver coaches are doing the heavy lifting on?
I think, yeah, you nailed it right on the head. I mean, first of all, we are with our position group coach more than anyone in the building. Like the meetings, we are with him. I don't want to get in trouble with compliance, but we're with him a lot throughout the day, 6 days a week, 7 days a week, 5 days a week, whatever you want to say. So we are with him all the time. When we watch film, it's with Coach Bellamy, and he is a stickler on the details and holds us to a high standard. And every drill that he does transfers over really well to the game. So we work on footwork, we work on catching the ball, we work on getting open, we work on so many things. And the guy, he played the position at the highest level you can play in the NFL. So whatever he says probably goes. So just listen to him and you'll be successful.
Now, you've had the chance, in addition to getting great coaching from Bellamy, you've played with some strong wide receivers. I think Cornelius, Roman, Ronnie. Tell us a little bit about what was it like playing with those guys, and maybe what did you learn from any of those guys that sticks with you today?
Yeah, I think those three that you named, I think there's many more like that, like the Thaws and the other walk-ons that were also studs that didn't get all the playing time. Where I think it speaks to the Michigan culture and the tremendous people that we have in the building, that like we were all best friends. There's no selfishness. Like everyone's happy for another man's success. I think Coach Harbaugh used to harp on that all the time, and Coach Moore has held that too now. So it's awesome to play for a school like Michigan and being unselfish no matter what. I didn't play it at all really for the first 2 years. I played a little last year, and I was always so happy for Ronnie. I was always so happy for Roman, for CJ, for AJ, for whoever that had a good game. I think that speaks to what our culture is. And obviously we can talk about the talent that they had, that Ronnie had, that Cornelius had, that Roman had. Roman was the fastest human being ever. So he had the elite ability to get open. I think Ronnie was a straight up junkyard dog who did all the dirty things and got rewarded with the ball. And he was unreal. And then Cornelius did all the little things right and had this elite ability to get open. So loved playing with all those three players that are now in the NFL. And I can't speak highly enough about them, about what they are as human beings and what they are as football players.
Now you you mentioned earlier is, maybe some struggles your freshman year or whatever, but I know you started on the scout team, right? Pretty much. Tell the average fan, how does a scout team get compiled? I mean, is there like some draft, and do you guys, as a scout team, do you try to learn the upcoming teams things so you can go out and try to beat, the Michigan,
Exactly.
give them the best they can get so they're
Right.
prepared?
So the scout team is probably just the ones and twos are within the first group, and the second group are within the offense. So everyone else that's not in that group with the offense goes down to scout team and plays against the defense every day. And luckily we have analysts and GAs to draw up cards that the other team runs. So it's pretty simple. You just look at the card and, oh, I have a post. I'll just go out there and run a post. But you got to do it to your best ability. I mean, the defense really relies on the looks that you get throughout the week to match what you get in the game. So I think scout team is really important, and I was on that for 2 years, and I loved, although I didn't love it, but I loved being on scout team because I thought it was a lot of fun, and it helped me get to the player I am today. And I'm sure Davis let you know that Davis and I and Max and Joe T used to tear up our defense.
Well,
It was a lot of fun.
Tell us a little bit about so any favorite moments where you guys were tearing them up and Harbaugh just said, "This is bullshit. We're stopping right now. What the hell's going on with the ones and twos?" I mean, because it sounds like maybe you had some fun doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it was never that bad, and also it's not tackle, so you're having the mindset of not being able to get hit is a whole lot different than playing when you're able to get your head knocked off. So that definitely helped, because if it was live, I think the scout team wouldn't survive a day with the defenses we've had in the past. But
yeah.
I mean, I don't think it ever happened where he stopped and was like, "What are you guys doing?" Blah blah blah. But I think we've had our fair share of plays where we go down and score a couple touchdowns and get the defense ripped a little. But I mean, we've had the best defense for 3 years prior.
Yeah.
So they're unreal. You can't say any negative things about them.
How far did you take your scout team role? You hear about these actors that they're method acting. When Jim Carrey was being Andy Warhol, he made people call him Andy Warhol and dress like him. Has anyone ever taken the scout team thing too far by dressing like the guy? I was hearing something about, he pretended to be whatever player. This was
guy. I don't think
that would be hilarious. And I don't know, has anyone ever taken it too far?
I don't think we've ever taken it too far, but we definitely, when we played Marvin Harrison Jr. and he had that stance that he stood straight up, and it was crazy that how good he was by just standing straight up at receiver. We would all do that. We'd all mimic that. So that's one thing that we used to do. Was pretty funny.
Did you wear the Cartier cleats in the Apple Watch too?
Never did that, but we did wear his number.
So how, you were like the imaginary MVP of a spring game in 2023. You had 6 receptions, 126 yards. You caught the game-winning 2-point thing. People were talking about you. And then, I know you didn't get probably as much playing time as you'd hoped. We had some guys, obviously, we've mentioned the talented guys. How hard is it to wait your turn?
It's definitely hard. The short answer is it's hard. Nowadays with the transfer portal, people would probably just say screw it and hop in the portal and leave. But I think I was destined to be, with all the work I put in, I feel like God was destined that I was gonna get my shot, and it worked out. But yeah, it's definitely hard waiting your turn. I mean, the amount of plays that I would make in fall camp, in spring ball, and it didn't matter because I know I had Ronnie, Cornelius, and Roman that
right.
they clearly at the time were a lot better than me. And even when I made a play, it's like, oh yeah, that's legit, but he's not going to play over these 3 dudes who are legit dudes. So it's definitely hard. But I mean, obviously when you try to get in that backup role, you're 1 snap away from playing 20 snaps a game, sadly, of how physical the sport is. So you got to prepare like a starter no matter what, and be ready for your opportunity. And when your opportunity comes, you need to shine in it, because you may never ever get that opportunity again.
Now, you mentioned earlier you had a talk about, you just said it. It's so easy in today's world to transfer. I mean, at what point did you think about transferring? Was that after your freshman year?
Yeah, after my freshman year, I mean, believe it or not, now that I'm starting, I only dressed for 2 games my freshman year. I didn't even make the dress list freshman year. So, I mean, all the work, all the hours I put in, I was just like, screw this. I'm never blah blah blah. The self-doubt that I shouldn't have had, and I knew I could have left and played lacrosse with my brother at UMass, and I'm happy I didn't do that. And then after that, I started to make plays, and everyone started to realize that, oh wow, this kid's pretty good. And obviously, the Michigan degree that you guys both have it goes a long way. So I knew that sticking out and getting the Michigan degree is going to pay off in the long run because we don't play football forever. So that definitely, the degree definitely held me back in.
Obviously, we're all biased because, we're all Michigan folks. But I mean, sometimes it bothers me when people, they say it as if it's like trite. Oh, but there is something to it. I mean, we have I think this is a true fact, and I'm sure somebody could fact check it, but I think Michigan has the largest living alumni base.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And there are people, when you get older like me and you're on LinkedIn or you're doing business, there are people that just are Michigan folks, and it opens doors. So again, I'm biased, but I do think it does matter because, to your point, the NFL career, even the best guys on our team don't have a long NFL career, and you're going to have to do something else when you're 28 years old.
That's right.
Whatever.
I'm excited for the weight the Block M carries, and
yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do with my life, but I'm sure I'll be in a good spot with my story and the Block M. So the degree that I got.
Do you think that lacrosse is something you might go back to? Like, do you think there's a future there? Like, obviously the NFL, but I know there's the PL. Like, we were talking about that earlier. But in all seriousness, like, do you have any itch to see what that might look like?
There's definitely thoughts of like trying to play in the spring, but I think my first 3 years here, how important spring ball was for me as a former walk-on and as someone who tried to earn their respect and earn playing time. I think it would have been stupid for me to try to walk on to the lacrosse team, blah blah blah. But there was definitely thoughts about that. Like, that'd be pretty sweet. And I don't know, maybe my brother graduated from UMass. He had a phenomenal career at playing there for lacrosse, was an absolute stud. And he hit the portal for his 5th year graduate and wanted to come to Michigan, and it didn't work out. And he actually ended up at the team down south. So
is this Sugar Shane?
This is Shane. Sadly, Shane's at Ohio State playing lacrosse.
So when you said the team down south, I thought you were talking about Toledo.
So it would have been cool if Shane, if it worked out. He came here for a 5th year. I would have tried to play this spring, but I mean, hopefully the rest of the year goes my way and I stay one more year, and we'll see what happens.
So so this was your brother Shane?
This is my brother Shane. Yeah,
I mean, it's clearly he's living up to his name. He's living up to the name.
That's right.
You've established earlier that your dad he knew something in advance.
We got to get him on to defend himself. I mean, this isn't totally. We got to get him on, but
that's right.
No, you're
right. As a guy that's gone through the process of trying to come up with names for 5 kids, I understand it's a painful process with with the wife. So
we got to chirp my dad.
Yeah. So like you mentioned, obviously most people know you're on scholarship now. So you start off as walk-on, you go to scholarship. Tell us a little bit about how that came about. Your roommate Max, at his year-end thing, I don't know whether Max just is a pessimist, but he thought he was actually getting cut from the team. I don't know how he got that impression.
I think he's just being a pessimist.
Pessimist?
Yeah.
So like, how did was it? Harbaugh seems to be pretty matter of fact, but tell us about that conversation.
Yes. So we do our end of our year meetings, and I went into I knew prior to this that Davis went in, got a scholarship. Max went in, got a scholarship. And I don't know if I was on their level yet with like how they were playing. So I was a little optimistic going into it. Like maybe I'll get one, maybe not. So I went in, and I mean, Coach Harbaugh said all the positive things, and it went blah, blah, blah. And then nothing happened. So I walked out of the meeting, and I was like, thanks, Coach. Like, I can't wait for next year or spring ball, blah, blah, blah. and our academic advisor, Claiborne Green, he walks up to me after the meeting, like his eyes were like this. He was like, "You get good news?" And I was like, "No, not really." He was like, "Oh, that's weird." And then I go about my day, and then I go to this discussion class on Friday, and I'm in class, and I get a phone call from Jim Harbaugh. Like, if you get a call from Jim Harbaugh, you need to leave class as soon as possible and answer. And I pick up the phone in the hallway, and he goes, "Hey Peyton, I forgot to tell you one thing. I'm gonna put you on scholarship." And I was like, "Oh my God, thank you so much. That's the dream come true." And then I think he just hung up on me, and that was that. I thought it was gonna be a bigger deal, and not in his eyes. He said, "I'm gonna put you on scholarship, and see you later." And
what'd your professor say? Were you like?
I just walked out of class. I didn't say anything, and I came back in with the biggest smile of my life. They probably knew something was up and couldn't pay attention for the rest of class. Was on my phone texting my people, and that's really that. And then my parents were very happy for me, and I was beyond stoked about it.
Your parents said, "Thank God, we just saved $80,000 a year." Yeah.
That's right.
But Peyton,
you're right.
A hack, right? If you ever look at a test that you're just like, man, I didn't study enough for this. Just be like, I gotta step out. I got Jim on the phone, so maybe I can come back and do this in a couple days. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
What a great hack. Oh, too funny.
Well, so when you graduated from PWO to scholarship, did you also graduate transportation mode? Because I heard that you started off you as a moped guy.
I am still a moped guy, believe it or
never
not.
give that life up. That's the best.
Love it. You drive it right up to the front door of the classes, park it in the bike rack, and go to class. It's unreal.
Dad,
that's fair.
I don't know if that's against the law, but
it hasn't been towed. You haven't lost it yet, so
I know hundreds of people do it, so it's kind of
that's kind of hard to do in the snow and ice, isn't it?
Yes, I definitely put it away for at least a couple weeks in the winter, and then
don't have chains on that thing.
When the snow's gone, I bundle up and put my parka on and my gloves and
Man, I tell you what, the parking lot at Schembeckler over the last few years has certainly upgraded.
I'll say so.
I mean, the parking spots were never designed for the huge pickup trucks that now,
right.
And there's some big SUVs in there for the coaches. Now they got their own spot, but the moped little square over there in the moped area is still pretty popular.
It fills up. So,
Dad,
but
yeah,
I want a car. I want a car. I need a.
Well,
hopefully that works out in the off season. Something
that sounds like a champion circle conversation.
That's right. I need to talk to them.
We can't. Leaders and Next can't help you with the car, man. Sorry about that.
By the way, when you, Davis, Max all get on scholarship, were you worried that the landlord was going to raise rent? Like he'd see that on the news wire and be like, "Oh boy, I'm not charging these guys enough."
I know. Luckily he didn't. But that was definitely a thought.
Yeah. So now we're on the football field. So MSU, end of the game. I saw a video. I was watching the video of the end of the game. I was at the game, but then I'm watching frame by frame video at the end of the game, and I think number 81 is lingering when everyone is like congregating around the end of game brawl, kind of skirmish, which is on brand for MSU. Apparently, they want to do this every game now. You were kind of hanging out in the very back, like. Did you know what was going on? Like, were you like, I've seen this movie before, I'm not getting involved? Like, what was going through your head at the time?
Yeah, I mean, that probably wasn't my fight to fight in. So, but I mean, I'll always be there for my teammates if they need me. But yeah, I was kind of, it's BS at the end of the game that didn't need to happen. So
yeah,
I know coach handled it within, but yeah, I mean, like to be a good kid and just stay out of that. But I mean, I don't want people to look at me like I'm soft, that I'm not about that action. But I'd help my teammates out without a doubt in a second.
Well,
so
first of all, you were like 16 rows. Like, what could you have possibly done based on?
That's right. You're right.
Like, on a more humorous note, I saw it, and my first thought was, "Oh, this again?" Like seen this before.
Exactly. And this again. I mean,
there's no. When the person who starts these things, they created a lose-lose situation, right? Like either you fight back and then you get dragged to their level, right? Or you don't, and then people can call you soft. So
you're right. It is a lose-lose situation that just doesn't need to happen. I mean,
I think everyone knows the role. The frontline people are usually the guys over at least 270.
You're right. Yeah,
So
I'll stay in the back. That's not my fight. But
yeah,
I was probably back there laughing. I think it's pretty funny, but
I think a lot of us were laughing, going, "This is so on brand for that school." But anyway,
also, I think about this with all football skirmishes. The other thing I laugh is like, you had 4 hours to just physically beat each other up.
you're right.
You know,
Like
what's this all about? Everyone's wearing helmets and pads. Like,
now that you're losing, like what are we doing?
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
But,
So you
On a positive,
walk us through. I'm curious, on a more positive thing. You had I think your second career touchdown at Oregon against Oregon. Walk us and some of the fans through that play. I mean, what was the play design? Were you the first? Just curious how that unfolded.
I think I'm a pretty smart football player, so I know when I line up whether or not there's a chance for me to get the ball. So in that play, I was the second read. I think Colston was the first read to bang him right in the flat, right up on the pylon, and I think they gloved that. So I was next in the progression, running a deep cross towards the back of the end zone, and Davis threw one up to me, and I was able to make the play. I think the ball hit me right in my chest. I didn't do much. All I had to do was jump up and trap it to my body. So Davis threw a great ball, and it was exactly what we needed in the time. And obviously that game didn't fall to our favor, but we did talk about getting a stop and then going down to score and make it an 11-point game. And we had all the momentum, and then blah 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 happens and just didn't go our way. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to get back in the end zone. I sure missed that place. Hopefully I can get in there a couple more times. I thought I was able to get in the end zone yesterday against Indiana, but the ball slipped out of Davis's hands at like the first drive of the game. I was if we didn't lose, I would have playfully said like, dude, come on, don't slip the ball out of your hands. But it was no time for that. So
yeah.
Were you open? I know the answer to that.
Hopefully
you're always open.
Hopefully I get in the end zone the next 3 games that we have. So
yeah, definitely. Is it just me, or is Davis really good at throwing when he's running to his left?
Davis is unreal at everything he does in the sport of football. But yeah, he's tremendous at escaping to the left, flipping his hips, and showing off his arm talent. So yeah. But I mean, the kid is an absolute stud. I can't speak highly enough about Davis and what he's been through and what, like, aside his personal journey, his football journey, what he's been through this year and how he's kept his head on straight. And I mean, if you turn on the film, the kid's a stud if you really watch, rather than all this hate or that he gets online. It's stupid. The kid is an absolute stud, and he's doing what he can to help us win football games.
And we talked to what I would say are the more reasonable, probably the silent majority of Michigan fans, and I will tell you, like, everybody recognizes his talent and his role and importance, and not to second guess prior decisions, but people go through a bunch of what if scenarios at Indiana or at Illinois, at Washington. If Davis plays, and I kind of knew it from. I'm trying to think. I mean, I think it was even Arkansas State. He hits Klein on like a seam
ball.
Yeah, you know the one time. And I remember looking at my brother being like, that looked really familiar. Like, that looked like if I would have closed my eyes and I could have thought I was in 2023 watching JJ throw that. So,
that's right. I mean, you can't question his arm talent.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, I think that game he only threw 3 incompletions, but unlike, like, the sad part about it was to the other team. And I mean, throwing 3 incompletions, obviously we need to take care of the ball. Throwing 3 incompletions is impressive going through a whole game.
JJ had a game like that against Bowling Green, and I think sometimes, I think maybe the mindset, and I wouldn't know because I'm the last person to ask because I've never been in the situation you guys have. But my guess is when you're playing Arkansas State and maybe JJ against Bowling Green, maybe you have some confidence in your defense. You're willing to take some risks in terms of throwing the ball, just to work through the playbook and see if you can make some things happen. And that's what I chalked it up to. But I think he was 11 of 14 in those 3 things. Like, the ball never hit the ground. Yeah, you're right. So
I think 2 of them, the receiver slipped or something like that.
Yeah,
so it wasn't even his fault, but obviously it falls on him, and he'll take full responsibility to that. And we went with Alex, and I love Alex to death. And Davis was there.
He won us 2 hard games, and I'm glad both guys have experience. Yeah,
you're right.
Now, we don't want to dwell on it, but clearly, it's not the season that, you guys look, envisioned probably when the year started. And you just mentioned like the hate, the social media stuff and the people that reach out. I mean, how are you guys handling all that? Like, what is the secret? Because, again, and we've talked about this before with other guys, today's world, you're kind of supposed to be out there in the public, Instagram, NIL deals, and everybody can find you guys as much as even if you try to hide. I mean, how are you guys within Schembechler handling what is probably a large volume of disgruntled people who can't handle their anger?
Yeah, I think just the culture that we have and the ability to stick together. And I think that's what we rely on us. We know that obviously we're not playing great, but we know that we believe that we can win every game and we go into that we have the belief of winning. And I mean, we've hurt ourselves more than other teams have hurt us this year. So I think we know that sticking together is the best thing to do, and ignore the outside noise, ignore the media, and just keep attacking day by day. And that's the culture Coach Moore has upheld. And I mean, he's an unbelievable head coach, and we'll go to battle for that guy any day of the week.
I think it's
any concern, like a lot of the guys that are on the roster now have never seen like a tough year, right? And is this the first tough year? What, is any concern that some of those folks are sitting there saying, "Hey, this is not what I signed up for," or anything like that? I'd like to think, given what you said about the culture, but in today's world, there's some people that want to pull the ripcord pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. I mean, we're not living up to the standard that we have upheld, and it's a lot of our first time going through this as the past 3 years, how great we've played. So I think it's definitely different, but I think I sound like a broken record, but the culture and that we have and the ability to stick together and within the players and within the coaches and still believe in each other, I think is the reason why we are all going to be okay.
Yeah,
well,
I think the sign of a team that was quitting or in the process of maybe, just phoning it in for next year or the next thing or something else. It's not what I like. I think what works against that is look at the second halves, right? Like the starts haven't been great in some of these games, but whether it's the defense locking down or sort of the offense getting going, the second halves have been super competitive, really in every game. I mean, even go back to Oregon, one play difference, 31-24, and then it's all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, this thing. So you're right. Like it feels the record oftentimes, I know this is the case for probably a lot of teams, and you could probably go through every loss and say, oh, one or two, goes the other way. I truly do think that's the case. And given that like these games seem to ascend in terms of performance and execution, like, at least from the outside looking in, I think gives the more rational fan the impression of guys are not quitting. They're in this one game at a time.
Yeah, I think you're right. You hit it right on the head. I think that's
again, it's the year's not over. It's not the year we wanted, but in 1993, I think Michigan was unranked, played Ohio State, who was ranked second, I think at the time. Dan, you can fact check this. I think it was 1993, and we upset them. We beat them 28-0.
And I hope.
So this year might be where we haven't won the games we wanted to win, but there's still that game looming on the schedule.
That's right, and we're excited for it, and we're going to give everything we have.
So
switching from even more fun than football, we're gonna talk academics and professional life, Dad. Is that what we're?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Oh Lord.
Well, so
well, we love doing this because this is the part where we get to guys really show just how truly well-rounded and they are, and I know, yeah, it's fun. It is.
I saw a prior interview where you were joking about like the one Ohio State guy that said he didn't come here to play football. He didn't come here to play school. I mean, you said I came here to get open, which I thought which is a really good line, by the way. But it sounds like you are studying your major is communications and media.
That's right.
And now you seem to be two-time academic, all Big Ten honoree. So is your so yeah, when will you graduating this year?
I graduate in May, yes.
Nice.
Okay,
Nice.
And then I'll do a 5th year.
perfect. Because you still have eligibility after this year. You've got
Yes,
another
I have
year, right?
one more year after this year, yeah.
Perfect. So, what's your secret to balancing? I mean, you guys, we've had other people go through what your guys' schedule is in the season, and it's crazy, right? In terms of when you show up, meals. So, like, what have you found to be successful for you in terms of balancing football and school?
I think the biggest thing is just caring about school, caring about both. I think if you trick your mind and tell yourself how important school is and caring about your grades, caring about going to class, I think that's what does it for me. I think I don't want to go into class unprepared. I don't want to put myself in a bad spot. So just do your work. Just do your work, do football, and go about your life. I think it's obviously it's probably harder doing than saying it, but just do your work. And that's the way I look at it. Just get your work done and focus on football.
Okay.
When,
And so,
communications and media, the first guy that I think comes to mind when I think Michigan communications and media is Adam Schefter. Is that what you're going for? Just
I mean, that would be sweet. That would be sweet. I can't see my job in the future not having to do with sports. So it'll be something within sports media, something to do with that. Maybe like I used to want to be a broadcaster, but then I quickly learned that I don't want to do that anymore. So we'll see.
Why not? I think you'd be
We'll
great
see what
at it.
happens. Yeah, funny story. Me and AJ Henning used to always talk about how we used to. We'll when we're older, we'll call games, and I'll be his Joel Klatt. He'll be the Gus Johnson. So
Okay. I was gonna
there you
say,
go.
were you the play-by-play guy, or you're the color guy?
I'll be the color guy, and AJ Henning would be the play-by-play guy. Obviously, I don't know if you guys know anything about AJ, but his personality is massive. So we always used to joke about that, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think we'll see what happens. I don't know. I want to get away from broadcasting, but I'll definitely do something within sports.
Well, that's kind of cool. Out of curiosity, do you have a favorite? As you take more of a critical eye on the sort of the broadcasting combos out there, do you have one that you think does the best job of taking kind of viewers, just as the best job in general?
I think everyone is so good right now that's on TV, but I think my favorite is Brad and Gary, the 3:30 CBS slot. I love them too. I just when I hear their voices, I think of my childhood, just sitting on my couch watching the SEC showdowns, and now that to hear Brad and Gary call one of my touchdowns was definitely a dream come true, and it was just a surreal moment. I loved. But yeah, me and Davis we're very into like knowing that like the broadcasters, and obviously Gus and Joel are unreal. Kirk and Fowler and Kirk are unreal. So I love all of them.
Just quickly back to your major, communications and media. I'm just interested to talk about it just for a second, because I think in the last 10 years, the way people have consumed media is totally different. Even so much of like a lot of people have just gotten rid of cable, and they stream. That's one example, but also just people consume things in these microbursts of 90 seconds, and also just you notice like the podcast forum is becoming so popular. Like even ESPN is shifting towards like they're not putting people behind a desk running through highlights. They're just putting a bunch of people behind a desk, and people just like
the herd,
shooting the breeze. I'm curious how much of your communications and media classes talks about the differences that in the way people consume media and what that means moving forward for sports.
Yeah, I think my sports classes that I have taken, we talk about that all the time, and how media has changed so much. But I mean, right now I'm not in many sports classes, so we're talking about a bunch of stuff that I'm very interested, but I mean, I still lock in and go to class and do my work. But yeah, I think you said it. Media has changed completely, and I mean, seeing Pat McAfee literally run a podcast essentially with his couple of his best friends that have hours of screen time on ESPN is everyone's dream job to go do that, and it's tremendous to see him doing that.
Well, I know a couple guys that do a podcast that have no idea what they're really doing, and they may need a summer intern. Who knows? I mean,
Yeah, Peyton,
so
any communications or media advice you could give us,
you guys are doing a great job.
Negotiate though on
yeah. I don't know. Maybe this summer you can share all this. You give us some free consulting on the golf course or something like that. Are you a golfer?
Yeah, I've gotten into it a lot this past summer and 2 summers ago, and I've quickly became a half decent golfer because of Davis. So we got out there probably 30 times this summer.
Shocking. Here's a guy that was a captain in 3 sports and now he's good at golf. This kind of Peyton, you're starting to piss off our listeners because you're good at everything. Stop it. Okay.
No, I'm not.
You're terrible at something, I'm sure, but we're not going to. So let's talk a little bit about the college athletics landscape. Kind of we were talking about the media landscape changing. College athletics has changed. Recently you were signed by Champions. Well, and when I say recently, we saw the release on that. And for those again listening, that's the collective, the largest collectives, supporting Michigan athletics. How'd that come about?
I think they're doing it like an NFL roster. I think they're paying a certain amount of people,
sure,
whether it's minimum, whether it's high. I mean, they've done a tremendous job with me, and I'm very, very happy of what I'm getting right now. And I think we are deserving of this money that we're getting. So I'm happy it's a thing now, and love those guys at Champion Circle.
Yeah, you won't get any disagreement with us. I know some people are, you get probably people my age, saying, gee, they're getting a free scholarship, why do they need to get paid? Well, the reality is that's just the way the world is now. And you guys generate a ton of revenue for the athletic department and the university, and frankly, peripheral benefit to the university when, in terms of academic, enrollments and applications. And so we're supportive of it as well. Do you have any other NIL deals? Yeah, you got the Champions, and I know that you're busy. Anything else on the sideline?
No, not much. I mean, I sort of just try to focus on what I'm trying to do on the field and what I'm trying to do in that building. So,
do you get a sense? A lot of guys, is this something that is added time to people's plates where they're actively kind of like you? I think I don't know how much you got Altius. I think. Out there trying to help folks, it sounds like, at the university. I'm not exactly sure what Altius does or doesn't do.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And then there's Champions, who is, I think, doing some stuff. Is this added average time to most student athletes' plates these days, trying to find some of these deals?
Yeah, I think before Champion Circle, there was such a gray area with it. So everyone tried to go out of their way and try to get some deals, but now with Champion Circle, everything goes through them, and they've done a tremendous job of allowing us to just focus on football and focus on what we need to do, the task at hand, and we're appreciative to those guys. And I think that's really it.
So if you could get an NIL deal, like a special, like what would be your dream NIL?
My dream NIL deal would probably be like, obviously a car would be great, but that's blah, blah, blah. That's
but you can't park the car in front of the classes.
I know you're right, but I'm a sloppy eater, or unhealthy eater. So like some sort of fast food restaurant would be amazing for me.
Oh boy, you come to the right place. Gary Graves, take it away.
Well, I in my business life, I'm affiliated with all your favorite fast food: Burger King, Taco Bell, and Jersey Mike's.
Wow, so, that sounds great.
You never know. There might be a side deal we could work out.
Yeah. So or like a crumble cookie or an insomnia cookie or like a Dairy Queen. That'd be great too. I love my sweets as on top of the fast food.
Man, we're like you and I are, but I don't have a first name. Well, there's probably some quarterback named Gary, but my parents didn't name me after that. But we're kindred spirits when it comes to fast food and desserts are I think a staple of any college.
What would the car be, Peyton?
What car you said?
Yeah, what would be the top?
Well, first of all, is it a car or a truck? Are you a
Anything with four wheels and that goes.
Okay.
But I mean, the dream car, yes. I mean, a pickup truck would be great.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so now that you've been in the NCAA as an athlete for several years, and you've seen a lot of changes as it relates to the NCAA, if you were in charge of the NCAA, what changes would you make?
I think it's the change that's going to happen is the pay us like employees. I think that's a genius thing that they're doing within the revenue sports.
Yeah.
The revenue making sports. I think that's what needs to happen. I think we need to be played by like employees. I think we work too hard and too much to not get paid on an hourly scale. I don't know how it's going to work, but how that's going to work. I think that's what, if I was a leader of the NCAA, I would do that.
Now that's revenue sharing. Isn't that happening in 2025?
I think it is, right? I think it is happening.
It'll be interesting to see. I don't think I've seen any details about how Michigan is going to split up. It's like $20 million, I think. Roughly.
I assume it's us, basketball, and hockey. That's it.
Well, that'll be interesting because I'm not an expert on this whole stuff, but then you got the Title IX stuff, and people may say, oh, what about an Olympic sport? What about tennis? What about golf? And my perspective, and again, I'm not encumbered by facts, but I would say I would just do a straight percentage of, well, who generated the revenue? What program?
That's what I would do too. I think
so. And that seems fair. Now, again, fair is subjective, so doesn't always work out.
100%.
That seems logical, and that would mean, presumably more money for football and basketball players.
You're right. Yep.
And Peyton, not that you asked, but I've had 3 NCAA rule changes I would propose. Or I've had 2 that we've covered on the show. Number 1 was banning Boise State's blue turf because it hurts my eyes. It kills birds. Second was banning Brian Kelly recruiting dancing videos because those hurt my eyes as well and probably kills some in the future. My third one now, which you brought up, is I hate the road team can't bring their whole roster. That's the stupidest rule. Brought up the dress roster. It's the dumbest thing. They're like, oh, we couldn't bring this guy because we're playing bigger now. This seems like a 1970s weird rule. So those are my 3. So
I'm interested to see what they do for the 105. Whether that's everyone travels, everyone sits up.
It seems like the 105 limit for those listening, right? In football, there's 85 scholarships, historically a limit of 85. And then a 105 roster limit. And, in today's world with NIL and collectives, Michigan carried 95 to 100 scholarship caliber guys last year.
Oh, yeah.
And I can assure you, I'm pretty sure the guys over 85, those other extra 15, they weren't paying tuition, and good on the schools. And I'm sure Michigan's not alone. This is happening everywhere. Roster expansion has happened. The 85 is irrelevant for the most part, and it'll be interesting to see what they do with the 105.
Yeah, I'm interested to see.
Yeah.
Speaking of NIL, Peyton, I got one more idea for you, and I'm just workshopping here.
Hit me.
There's Miss O'Leary's cow, right? We talked about, that's O'Leary's cow.
I didn't forget. I'm still going to ask him after the podcast.
Yeah.
What if we do O'Leary's goat, GOAT? The little pun on that. Make some shirts, print those up. That could be a winner.
That could be a winner.
Yeah.
There's a couple T-shot. There are a couple printing companies in Ann Arbor, custom printing. So if you could just, this could be something. Well,
yeah.
Why, Peyton? I know we're in front of NFL football that you want to watch. We're recording this on a Sunday, and I know you're a big fan.
Tune in. Wake Forest.
What time is that game?
It's on now.
It is.
Yeah. Anyway, Michigan basketball is looking good this year. But again, it's been great hearing your story. I know in today's world there's a lot of articles but in one podcast here we've heard your story from high school to here and your contributions, and I think they're only going to continue to increase given you've got a whole nother year next year. And I think people underestimate how much improvement there is year to year at this level, freshman to sophomore to junior, and so on. So again, we really appreciate you making the time. It's been awesome.
Thanks, Peyton.
Thank you so much.
And if we do anything financially to help get number 19 back from Tommy Doman for you, let us know.
Oh yeah. Well,
Thanks,
we'd have to negotiate with Tommy. So thanks everybody. Follow us on Leaders in Next. We've got a website. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube. Appreciate everyone. Thanks so much. Go Blue.
Go Blue.